Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the Rob Lucci versus Marco matchup. Obviously you can see that Rob Lucci still is really strong, but let's see if Marco is able to withstand Lucci. I do know that without stage, Lucci does feel a little easier to deal with. Still a really tough deck, but this time going second. I was lucky to hit the Sanji's Pilaf out of life there. Lamb swinging in for 8. And then here, since he doesn't have any bodies to pressure me, I decided to just rip another Pilaf. Yeah, so the reasoning behind this is because I wanted to get as many resources as possible, because I do know Lucci does dwindle you since he swings in every single turn while getting rid of your bodies on board as well. So getting resources early is always good against Lucci. So I counter out with the pudding. I decided that I wanted to develop board presence versus messing with his hand, just because with cards like Rebecca, Spandam, he can easily get resources back in his hand if I were to just putting him at 6 cards or 5 cards or whatever. So here he swings in 5 at leader, reducing my Marco down to 4. He's not able to KO my Marco, but he is able to develop a Jack, which is really threatening for us. So I use leader ability once again. I have a good amount of Dawn to play with. Luckily, if you can see, I did rip another Sanji's Pilaf off the top there. So I think that's just going to be my play. And I have enough Dawn to play down the blocker Marco as well. So here I made a slight misplay. I forgot that Jack KOs 3 or less. For some reason I thought it was 2 or less. But going into Lamb's turn here, he starts with a 6k swing into my Marco, reducing the blocker Marco, and then KOing him with Jack. But I guess in my defense, if I blocked with the blocker Marco, he could just pop it anyways. Oh, and he does. He did have the Ice Age and Jack, so it's good that I forced him to pop it with both his Jacks, because he could have just swung in instead. So going into my 10 Dawn turn, I'm able to make a Sanji play here. I could have dropped 9beard, but I thought that Ace was better because Ace can instantly deal with the Jacks on board. And yeah, I was able to get out of 1 Jack and then forcing him to give me a 2k and a 1k on the second one there. So I'm not too sure what range Lucci has, but I was feeling pretty safe with Sanji and Ace on board, because if he tries to swing into Ace with his Jack, I have more than enough counter to deal with that swing. And if he tries to full combo, I know that 9 cost and 7 cost. It's not really easy for Lucci to double pop here, especially since I see 2 Ice Ages in his grave already. I do know that Lucci's are running Ice Ages now, so I wasn't sure if he had it in hand. So he Tempest kicks my Sanji, bringing it down to 6 cost. And then he actually drew into another Tempest kick. I don't think that will matter too much, because in order to double pop here, he would at least need an Ice Age to bring them both in range. So luckily for us, he didn't have the double pop combo. But yeah, he was deciding whether to Tempest Kick the second time onto Sanji or Ace, but ultimately decided to reduce my Sanji all the way down to 2 so that he can Gecko for the Rob Lucci and Spandam instead of wasting a potential draw for from the Spandam. So I think he's trying to count how much CP he has to work with. He doesn't even have a Rebecca engraved, which is really good for us. So he can't develop a blocker and throw down this Rob Lucci. And that means that next turn he won't have too much defense against our crackback. So the Rob Lucci, thanks to the leader ability and the double Tempest Kick, is able to pop the Sanji here. Luckily for us, he's not able to kill the Ace as well. But he plays the Spandam down. And then top 3, luckily for us, he actually whiffs here. I think if he just stacks up on 2Ks, it's always, really tough to see. But I think he's deciding here whether to use the Jack ability just to cycle or to swing. Right play definitely is to swing, just because with his board presence right now, his goal should be to get cards out of my hand, but he opts not to. I think preserving the Jack on board is really important. And I do agree with that play as well, but me dropping the 9 beard here means that it's going to be really hard for him to really crack back. So swinging in 7 with the Ace and 8 at leader means that Lamb is already down at 2 life. So we're in a really good spot here. Leader is pumped up to 7 for the turn, so his crackback isn't going to be too devastating. Jack is in a pretty weird spot here, unless Lamb is able to turn him sideways, but obviously it's going to be really scary since Lamb is only at 2 life. I can just crack in super heavy next turn, put him at 0 or even kill him if I had another Ace in hand, and I think he didn't want to take that risk, so he's trying to find a way to deal with his board here. But after taking care of one Sanji, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to clear this new gate as well. So he starts with a 7k swing with the Rob Lucci, and that eats a 1k counter. And then I do see a Rebecca in his hand, leaving 9 Dawn up, probably going to Rebecca Sabo so that he can protect his board. But he's slowly chipping away at my life and my cards in hand, like I mentioned earlier. And I did let the Gecko Moria connect because I wanted to get more top end pieces so that I can pressure him on board as well, because I do have a bunch of counter in hand, but obviously I want power on board as well. So I found another Newgate, but I ended up putting him at the bottom of the deck just because I didn't really need him at this point. I think that once 2 Newgates resolve, I should have more than enough swings to finish him off in the following turns. So I start off with an 8k. I believe this is at Jack just because Marco is able to reduce Jack down to a 6k body. So right now I'm telling him to give me one of his blockers or give me 2 cards out of his hand. And he didn't have it, so I started swinging at life, 7k at lead. And then the Newgate also going in at face there, eating both of his blockers. So we're looking really strong here. Lamb, I think, trying to see if he can just keep on pressuring at life, but this time I don't want to go down to 1 life because that means that next turn he could easily clear my board or easily clear the last life. So I try to counter out pretty aggressively here while my new gate effect was active. So I was able to draw into a Rayleigh, and I think that's going to be really big into this turn. I had an ace in hand, and that could have helped me just like completely clear his board. But yeah, Rayleigh kind of seals the deal here, because not only does he reduce the 2 bodies on board that are threats, he's able to keep the power reduction until the next turn as well. So this is going to be a 6k swing into his Gecko Moria, which is a 4k. And then my new gate is just slamming in at life at this point. So I didn't feel too pressured here because the Rob Lucci is going to be a 4k this turn. I think he should have just let his Rob Lucci go. I know he wants to Rebecca Sabo. But yeah, it's a really tough call, just because Rebecca without Sabo means that my new gate's just able to KO her off of the swing. And I think that might have been his only Sabo in his trash, actually, so he was kind of forced to let him go. So he hit me with two 5k swings, and obviously that gets countered out pretty easily, but looking at the board state, I should have more than enough to just go for lethal here. So swinging 5 at leader, telling him give me 3 cards or one of your blockers. And I think he's probably going to give me one of his blockers here. It's just too many tall swings to deal with. So another 9k swing coming in. I think Lamb counters out of this one, but mathematically, yeah, I think I just have this in the bag. So yeah, Marco looking like he can compete with Lucci, even though Lucci is still pretty dominant. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you guys next time. Bye.